Hey, I'm Izzy Flint and I'm a mountain biker from Launceston. I started riding when I was like 12. My dad decided that he wanted to try track riding and I was like, I wasn't going to miss out. I think the scariest thing about being on the bike is the feeling of not necessarily knowing what's going on. That balance between being right on the rivet of being in control and being out of control. And I was trying to explain to someone else the other day that being able to go fast is that really fine line between being 98% in control and 2% out of control. Because if you're a little bit too far out of control, you crash. And if you're not on the rivet, you're going too slow. So finding that real happy medium is probably the scariest part. Crashing is a part of any cycling sport, but particularly mountain biking. It's so extensive. Like, you crash on the silliest, simplest stuff. And when you start, I was told by one of my best mates that you spend the first 12 months where you crash almost every ride because you're trying to find your limits. And once you find them, you still crash, but I feel like you just crash. You either don't crash at all or you crash like huge, which is what I did. I was in New Zealand racing the World Enduro Series. We're on our last practice day, so we're on the lucky last stage of the day. I nearly got through it all. And I don't really remember what happened, but I crashed really bad, ended up down an embankment, and I was transported to hospital with suspected C-spinal injuries and a concussion. I laid in hospital for a very long time with them in effect waiting for test results, blood results, all kinds of things to figure out if anything else was wrong. And I think once I finally got discharged the next day, I sort of just feel like I'd been hit by a truck, was probably the best way to describe it. And I was lost, so completely lost. Like for me, so my mum is my best friend and it was so scary not having anyone with me, so I crashed with no family there. So I think that was probably the scariest part. I don't cry very often, but I remember being in the back of the buggy that took me to the ambulance and I actually just cried. I was so scared and I wasn't like, I knew I was hurt, but I was okay. I wasn't even crying because I was sore. I just was so unsure of what was going on. I couldn't remember my name, I didn't know where I lived. And having that was the most scary situation I've ever been in, was just knowing, like, completely oblivious to the whole world. So concussion for me was, I guess probably the biggest thing was like the state of not really remembering what happened. It's a head injury, to put it simply, and it's something that it's not often talked about and isn't as well researched as what most other injuries are. Your brain is the center of your body, so it sort of affects all aspects of your life in that respect. I lost all my balance. I lost my ability to put my words in the right order in a sentence. Like, I'd be saying the same, Mum's like, you told me that 3 times already, but I couldn't even remember telling her. And stuff like that was really confronting, that I didn't know at the time, but as we went on I was like, wow, like how much it knocked me around was ridiculous. You know, if you break your arm, everyone's like, yep, you know, you've got 6 weeks in a cast and then you can be back. Whereas that's what I found really difficult. I'm someone who's very definitive and I'm like to know what's going on. So when people kept saying to me like, you just have to wait and see, I found that really difficult because I wanted someone to be like, yeah, it's 6 weeks in and you'll be right. Or, you know, it's 6 months, whereas no one could actually tell me. And there were these little markers along the way, but I'd go 2 steps forward, you know, like I'd get to the point where I was like, yeah, okay, I can go back to school now. But then I'd be like, oh, damn, I get tired. And then I'd just absolutely forget, like I wouldn't remember where I was walking, you know, like I'd catch the wrong bus. Like I'd just lose all comprehension of that kind of stuff as soon as, and then you're back to square one and then have to start all over again. I almost kind of lost, I felt like I lost who I was a little bit because I used to be so, I guess, confident in who I was and I knew where I stood in the world, whereas when someone takes, not that it disappeared, but when someone takes that away from you, I sort of felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. When Dom came to me, he said like, what are your goals at the moment? And it was quite funny. I've always seen my life as having, all my goals were like cycling related, you know, like it's what's next, it's what's coming up, it's what's big. Whereas from this, taking a step back from sport, I actually kind of have there's new appreciation for being alive. And that sounds so silly, but when I was so close to not being able to live anymore, it's kind of really cool to step back and go, you know what, like my life goals are to enjoy every day and to make the most of things. I think on the bike for me, like I've definitely, that new appreciation has definitely transferred to cycling as well. I've got some new goals, but they're not results based anymore. I want to ride my bike because I love it. And for me, the fact that I enjoy riding my bike will lend itself to better results anyway. But I think that for me in the future, if regardless of what my cycling career looks like, I think helping people is something I've always been passionate about, but harnessing a way to put my passions together of cycling and females and development and putting that all into one, I think is something that I'll chase forever.